Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that political parties mean much less than political ideologies. I think at the end of the day, a person's political party doesn't say anything about them, whereas I absolutely know that a person's political ideology says a tremendous deal about them. And it doesn't matter what political party you belong to, whether you belong to the Democratic Party or the Republican Party or the Libertarian Party or the Green Party or even the Communist Party, whatever. The party that you identify with doesn't say that much about you. Because when you look at how members within a political party behave, the truth of the matter is, it's not the party that you can count on to be consistent and demonstrate integrity. It is the ideology. Now, I've seen a perfect example of this, not only tonight, but consistently with the Republican Party and the Republican candidates in the 14th Legislative District of New Jersey, which is where I'm running for State Assembly. I will elaborate. First of all, discussing tonight. Tonight, I went out to support the New Jersey Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Steve Lonegan. He had an event at Rider University, not too far away from where Don Nazarn and I live. In fact, it's in our county. Not in our legislative district, but it is in our county. And the man is a Republican. I personally am not a Republican. I personally am not typically a fan of Republican politicians. And in fact, I am running against Republican candidates for state legislature. However, I think that Steve Lonegan is a better candidate for Senate than Cory Booker for many reasons. And there's no better candidate trying to challenge Steve Lonegan. So even though, to be honest with you, there are things about Steve Lonegan that I absolutely disagree with, he's the best candidate available, and he has my endorsement. He has my fervent endorsement, in fact. But what's interesting is, he spoke to students at Rider College, and not only students, but actually the public at large, because anybody who supports him was invited to this free forum this evening. And I was astonished that the Republican candidates for state legislature here in New Jersey's 14th Legislative District did not show up at the forum. The legislative candidates for state legislature did show up from the 15th district, but not the 14th. And it was a pleasure chatting with those gentlemen. And I'm talking about the Republicans, obviously. But I'm wondering, where was Peter Inverso, the Republican candidate for Senate, State Senate in the 14th District? And where was Steve Cook and where was Ronald Haas, the Republican candidates for state legislature and for state assembly in the 14th District? Where were they? And I say where were they because supporting your representatives is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. When I consider the political events that I go to, and I see, unfortunately, a low turnout wherever I go, whether it's a town council meeting or a rally or a forum, I see a low turnout. And because I see the low turnout, I reflect and I think, gosh, it's really important to show up and show your support to whatever it is that you believe in. And so I go to this forum tonight that was Steve Lonigan's forum, and I'm thinking, where are the Republican candidates for New Jersey legislature? They should be endorsing Steve Lonigan fervently. They should be there. They should be praising him. They should be there supporting him, and they weren't there. None of them. It's kind of ironic. I feel more like a Republican than the Republican candidates I'm running against, which is very bizarre. But, it's not only in terms of showing support for the people who deserve support. In terms of actual policy, I think Don Zarn and I are more Republican than the Republican candidates we're running against. And I've spoken to you about this before in reference to nullifying Obamacare, something that Don Zarn and I believe needs to be done. Actually having a true, concrete, guaranteed way to lower property taxes. It's supposed to be a Republican idea of lowering taxes, and obviously opposing Common Core, the education standards imposed on the state of New Jersey that takes away say from parents and teachers. Those are not Republican ideas, and so Don Zarn and I have opposed them, and we are holding views that actually, if you look at other states across the country, Republicans are holding the positions that Don Zarn and I are holding. Whereas the Republicans we're running against are actually not only ignoring the issues that we're pressing, but they're not out there fervently supporting Steve Lonigan to represent us in Washington. What the hell? Where are they? Who are they? How could we find any reason to believe in Peter and Verso and Steve Cook and Ronald Haas when they're not there supporting the folks who deserve their support? And we're talking fellow Republicans here. As I've said, Don Zarn and I are better Republicans than the Republicans we're running against. Very ironic, actually. So I do honestly question the sincerity of the Republican candidates that Don Zarn and I are running against. I have to think honestly that, and this is mere speculation, forgive me, I'm not the kind of guy who often likes to either speculate or predict things, but I have a speculative theory that I really believe in, and I think that the Republicans here in the 14th Legislative District must think they're going to lose. Must honestly believe they're already going to lose and are just not bothering to put their souls into this election and are just assuming that at the end of the day the Democrats are definitely going to win and that they just have to play along and run. I mean, even though we're running against multimillionaires who could dump loads of money into this campaign, they're doing nothing. Nothing! Whatever. Putting that out there for you, ladies and gentlemen. But making an emphasis here on political ideology, or stated more simply, political beliefs. And it's political beliefs that define us, at least in terms of how you understand us politically, not our parties. Don Zarn and I are, in a technical sense, independent candidates. It is true, we are both members of the Libertarian Party. And I'm okay being a member of the Libertarian Party because I believe that's the party that comes closest to the views that I hold. However, basically nobody from the Libertarian Party in the state of New Jersey has been supportive of anything that Don Zahn and I have done. In fact, we've had more support from Republicans and Democrats than we have had from registered libertarians in the state of New Jersey. This is just a show of how political party means so much less than political ideology. And this is the reality of the political state of America. I must move on, because I've told you that I do mean to keep these videos as short as possible. Around 15 minutes. This is going to go a little bit over 15 minutes. This is going to be one of my longer segments, because I do have a lot to discuss with you tonight. It's going to be a half hour, approximately. I'm sorry. It's been a long day. I got up at approximately, I want to say, 6:15 in the morning. It's past midnight now. And sometimes I just need a moment. You understand, I know you do, because you work hard. Speaking of time and all of the constraints, I've been mailed many surveys from different groups interested in the positions of the candidates for New Jersey legislature in this election that I've been talking to you about. Unfortunately, I'm juggling a lot. I'm juggling my job at McCaffrey's, the grocery store, and my role as a boyfriend, and as a political candidate, as a commentator, and as a writer. I've been juggling all this, as a son as well. I've been juggling all of this, and it's been a little bit challenging, I'm not going to lie to you. Point is that I've been sent all these surveys with deadlines when they wanted these surveys completed, and there was just no way. There was no way I was going to finish these surveys. So, unfortunately, I haven't been able to answer their questions, make their deadlines. Therefore, the reality is there are several groups who are going to have presently no information on my positions. I'd like to change that starting tonight by sharing with you the questions that I've been asked and the answers that I can offer. And so tonight we're going to begin by talking guns. Now, this is an issue that I haven't talked much about with you. I've mentioned it a handful of times, I know, but I haven't gone into detail about my principles on gun rights. And speaking on principle, before I answer for you these questions, I just want to say this. I vehemently support the constitutional right to bear arms. I believe that at the end of the day, evil-minded people will find ways to either manufacture guns illegally or obtain guns illegally and use them inevitably, and if that's to be the case, then innocent people ought to have the right to defend themselves against those evil people. That's, in a nutshell, how I feel about guns. I do support criminal background checks and have a sensitivity to that nature, but I do think that there are legitimate standards in a criminal background check and illegitimate standards, specifically in terms of certain psychological questions that I think are inappropriate. And if I'll address that more by just quickly answering for you some of these questions asked by the National Association for Gun Rights. So here are the questions that they ask. And I'm going to tell you, their questions are yes or no. I'm, however, going to offer a brief commentary after my yes or no, because to me, things are not strictly yes or no, but they're yes or no because. And unfortunately, they didn't offer a because, so I'm glad in the long run that I actually didn't have the time to fill out the survey. So question number 1. If elected, would you support legislation to implement